Holy shitballs, it's Gamescom today. I totally didn't even realize. I was actually looking to see where we were with the kind of teasers that Square Enix left us. They said that we were going to be seeing big things before August. So I was like, well, damn, what happened to that? I checked out gaming events and just happens to be today, 6:30 PM BST time. So I'm going to stream it because Final Fantasy 16. Yes, people, I'm doing it. I'm going to that place. I'm going to hope, like I do at every game year, because it just makes it so much better when there's just that one game that has a subatomic microbial chance of actually appearing and just naively believing that it's going to happen. I did it for 10 years with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Cut me some slack, but for real, I am actually going to make what I feel is a compelling case as to why Final Fantasy 16 could be coming. And this is very, very interesting because it's one of perhaps the best breakdowns of just where Square Enix is at right now. How much, like, I knew Final Fantasy VII Remake was profitable. I covered it in the 5 million game sales video. I didn't know to what degree, to what margin. This is truly freaking wild. But yeah, quickly before I dive into that, of course you guys have probably seen it already, and I didn't really cover it because, I don't know, I feel iffy about rumours, but there's been the Final Fantasy 16 one from a Reddit user saying that we were supposed to already hear or have seen stuff for Final Fantasy 16 in June. That it is ready for Square Enix to announce to us, and they weren't sure why they hadn't shown it as they originally believed back in June. Now, this person's been right about some other things, like they have demonstrated reliable inside information. I think they did stuff on Marvel's Avengers. I think maybe K3, though I might be wrong. And yeah, definitely the 7 Remake, when that was flitting about. So, as always, and I've never been good at this, I'm remaining cynical of rumours more and more these days. But there is now in my mind an argument that perhaps it is. Perhaps Square Enix are actually working on it and they're going to show it to us, but let me get into it. So this is from Dave Duchar on Seeking Alpha, and they are a long-term horizon, large cap portfolio strategist. They go in talking about Square Enix's latest successes, Final Fantasy 14 Shadowbringers, the MMO subscriptions, even in Square Enix portfolio investments. Reports were saying that MMO subscriptions are just making them tons of money. Of course, then Remake, the mobile titles, even the latest War of the Visions mobile title. We'll see a chart for it in a minute. That game is killing it, man. Even more than the big AAAs. And this is the scary thing. I think the mobile might actually be the master race. Whenever you see the numbers, it does. It dwarfs even the PC. It makes it look like a little bitch. But anyway, we'll dive into it. So we've got Marvel's Avengers coming up, 7 Remake. Everything's sort of even been building up just during the 15 and KH3 era. Square Enix were kind of a bit thin on the portfolio ground, which is why they announced FF7 Remake way earlier than they should. They did it in 2015. We got it in 20. But now we're in a very different era where stuff is landing, and it has been for a while, and because of it they are now up 57% since last year. That is a colossal, momentous boaty McBoatface ton of schmeckles right there, especially during an era of COVID, because while it is true, and I thought this at first, game sales have actually been up during the COVID era. However, that is just one area of Square Enix's multiple divisions. They have huge investments in things like arcades, which that has all just gone anemic. that has flatlined. The shutters have literally been down because of COVID. So that's actually made quite substantial losses, with the net sales also being up across the board 63.23%, which makes operating income up over a 3 consecutive year-on-year period. Woo! Now here's what I'm talking about, where that money is coming from. This is a chart with net sales. That is War of the Visions. That is Brave Exodus right there. Well, okay, so like 7 Remake crossed its path. They crossed peace streams. You got Shadowbringers floating around down there, but that's pretty wild, man. That's pretty wild. Well, and in fact, whenever I see these mobile numbers, you'll just see casually like 10 million or 12 million for things like Mobius and Exvius, or even something as dog shit and criminal as 15 A New Empire. So I've got another video coming out on it. It's re-rustled my Jim Jams. My flip-flops are re-rustled on that subject, but yeah, even 15 A New Empire. It's crazy millions of downloads. And yeah, it's a big part of Square Enix portfolio. But here, despite losing over 1.5 billion yen in its amusements divisions. Now, I was trying to work out what a billion is. Is that a billion? How many zeros is a billion? Is that's a million. I know that's a million. Is a million 1,000 billions or 100 million? I think that's right. Is it 9.4 mil that it's lost? Maybe. Someone let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong on that, but amusements are, what's that, 1/14th or something of what, or compared to digital entertainment. Anyway, the arcades have been down, man. And here we go. So digital entertainment takes over as amusement plummets during COVID-19 pandemic. So you've got the ratios. Digital entertainment, publication, merchandising. There we go. That's a more comprehensive chart of it. This is just showing the general interest over YouTube and the internet with post FSM Remake, the launch. Woo! Just a spike with all kinds of dank YouTubers. A little bit salty they didn't show me off there, but whatever, fuck you, I don't care. But here's where this article writer really takes it next step further. They start talking about generally what is it like to invest in Square Enix. They talk about the PB value, which I had to look up. It's the price to book ratio. So that is calculated by dividing the company's stock price per share by its book value per share. Book value is equal to its carrying value on the balance sheet, and companies calculate netting the assets against its accumulated depreciation. I know what that's talking about. I understand that. Those words. But there we go. I think one is the line where it's kind of considered equal to its book per value share, its PB ratio. So yeah, Square Enix have gone above that with this massive new inflation, which is begging the question to shareholders, are they now overvalued? Has the ship passed on investing with them? And I could definitely see it now that, we're seeing Marvel's actually now coming out, Marvel Avengers, FSM Remake has happened. Because even when Final Fantasy Remake first announced, I mean that 2015 fart in the wind of a trailer, and that's all it really was. The day that got shown, Square Enix's shareholding jumped up like 10%. So you can imagine everyone was investing all throughout that period. People, investors like to get in at the start of something. We're now at the back end of projects, which is an argument as to why there is an opening in Square Enix's portfolio for Final Fantasy 16. And particularly when, as we've just seen, it is that digital sales, that mainstream of game selling that has not just kept their company cushioned and afloat in place where many other companies could not, it's actually pushed them to heights they've never achieved. I shit you not, guys. This is, let's quickly go through this. 1 week, well, that's nothing really. Month, a nice steady trend. 3 month, poppity pop pop poop. Pam, oh my god, that's 6 month, a nice trend. A year, and woof woof, choker chow meow. That woo, that you can't even see that latest spike. It is so spiky. Look at it. That is over their entire history. Now, of course, this 2000 era, not only is that the back end of the Final Fantasy Golden era, so literally the year on year, every year, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like, we were getting those games every single freaking year, and that's where their shareholding was at. But that's not even why the spike happened. That was where the Square Enix merger happened. So we're actually way beyond even the golden era, and then things sort of chundered along nicely. But this is what era here was where Square Enix really struggled, and I think we all know the era. It was the moving into the PS3, PS4 era. Development cycles, because I don't like to compare it to the old days. I'm not asking to get a Final Fantasy every year. It was a different era. Game development cycles were nowhere near as long and intensive. I mean, by Square Enix's own admission, they said they could change things in those 90s games, like entire scenes on the fly. Something that is just not imaginable today. So, completely different era, but at the same time, their financial performance does kind of reflect where Square Enix were at with Final Fantasy, and why we started seeing these really long development cycles. And I think that's what's really ingrained in our minds, is the long development cycle. So it happened after 11, we had to wait 4 years until 12, then another 3 years to 13, another 4 years again to 14, and then another 3 years for FF15. And I think that's where, quite right and fairly so, our minds are, is we can't imagine Square Enix picking up another Final Fantasy project while there's one in the making. We can't imagine getting a Final Fantasy game a year apart, especially a mainline AAA one. I mean, I'd even say a mid-range game. Even their mid-range games during those 2000 eras. You know, I mentioned, like, there was loads around this time. There was the Chocobo series, there was things like Tactics, Crystal Chronicles. The port rate was so much higher than it is now. Like, stuff was just getting ported all together, which we've not even seen that with 7 Remake. You know, we've not even seen it move to Xbox, PC. There's still all of those sales, not to mention the bundling sales. Well, how much money they're going to make from bundling parts of the remake is going to be crazy. Like, freaking crazy, man. Marvel's is just about to come out. Project Athia is, no, they've already shown parts of that off, and that's in a healthy place already. If we look at what Square plan to do in the next 2 to 3 years, they have the numbers, the investment, the capital, the motive to start working on another big project, like around now. And I'm saying that even though I know that Marvel's is going to be a continuing ongoing project, as is of course 7 Remake, but if we continue down this chart, so we got a little breakdown. I even had to look up what Outriders was. I literally didn't know about this game until this. I don't know, it's got something like Halo, Doom Eternal, like someone said in the comment section, I guess like Gears of War sort of vibe. Shooter. It's not really up my interest, but there you go, there's Outriders apparently. Yeah, 33% loss in amusements, 35% up on digital, 43% up on publication, and 38% up on merchandising. Hot diggity damn. Damn. Now this is the part I really like. This is Square Enix's cash flow. And it's 118 billion. That is their cash compared to Capcom and Konami, which is slightly higher. But what we'll see in a minute is Square Enix actually in a better position because they have less liabilities. So I'm just going to take that on face value, I guess, for what that means. I guess that means like financial commitments and investments and contracts and things that have tied up their liquidity, I guess. Square Enix have way less liabilities. And I don't know if exactly attributable to this, but we've also got to remember that Square Enix have fundamentally changed their company. Not only have they done an overhaul of all of the divisions, like a restructuring, they've also developed a in-house game philosophy. So Final Fantasy 15, that was outsourced to over 300 companies. You know, I remember covering the story, over 300 separate external companies worked on parts of Final Fantasy 15. Nuts. And then we see with 7 Remake, they wanted to bring it all in-house. That's why we had like a year or two delay. The CyberConnect division got cut. And yeah, while it delayed the project and was a big concern, they've done it. They've brought it in-house, and that has definitely got to be adding to the value of the profit margin of Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Because yeah, it had really good sales, but how expensive was the project? And when I factor in that along with it using Unreal Engine, so there wasn't all the investment into Luminous and the huge technological holdups and delays and shelving and price tag and Kingsglaive movie that Final Fantasy 15 built up, it had none of that. It was worked on Unreal Engine, an established engine. Sure, they did some like tweaking to stylize it specifically to the uses of 7 Remake, but they actually started practicing that with KH3. They did that with Kingdom Hearts 3, so they were already somewhat practiced and learned, especially Nomura, literally working on both games, getting that done. So yeah, this means that Square Enix have a ton of cash, more than they've ever had in their history. They've got few liabilities, no reason not to spend it, and that's part of why this person says, even though their share value is slightly overvalued at this point, they are still a company to invest in, and shareholders should not be quick to ditch off their investments because, like it says, provided that all the things come to fruition, 7 Remake, the sales, if Marvel Avengers does well, which I've been hearing some mixed stuff on that. Mixed things from buggy, derpy combat to obviously some of the practices, I think like Spoderman and, you know, being PS5 exclusive or something. I know I've not followed it intensely, just little things I heard like the camera design as well, making people physically sick. That's always great. And very quickly, some might find this interesting, but while I was looking at this, I also found this article. So in terms of Japanese game companies, of course, there's a bigger contender than all three of these, and it is Nintendo. But Nintendo, holy dinkus, man. They have just become Japan's richest company of 2020. Like the richest of all the companies, my God. So they were at number 2 in 2019. They've now gone with 190 billion yen in cash. They've now become the richest company in Japan. Ludicrous. If that doesn't make a compelling argument for why 16 could happen, why, as cynical as we are, well, no, what we've got to think of, if Final Fantasy VII Remake is genuinely going to take another 5, 6, whatever years it's going to be, I don't know, I'm totally speculating. What we can definitely say is they're going to be looking to bring out more than just that, and that they are opening portfolios for 2 years from now, from 3 years from now. So even if we don't get 16 and the rumours aren't true, that it's going to be landed in this Gamescom or the Tokyo Game Show when that comes next, the notion that it could be on the horizon. I mean, I remember 2-3 years ago we were seeing subtle rumours about it being in the concept stage. And that was 2 or 3 years ago, so it's not wholly impossible. Of course, we've got the question of, do Square Enix actually want to invest in another big AAA Final Fantasy project in that IP? Like maybe 7 Remake is like enough to be the big ongoing Final Fantasy game for now. Yeah, maybe that's the case. In which case, I would like them then start doing some mid-range games again. Bring out the tasty, saucy, good mid-range games. Sure, they don't make the crazy bucks that the AAAs do, but they also don't risk losing as much either. That's the beauty of them. Like things like Crisis Core did so well on the PSP sales-wise. The old tactics games, loads of the mid-range games have performed really well. Even something like World of Final Fantasy performed well, in spite of it being announced and overshadowed hugely by a 7 Remake. You threw WoF straight under the hype bus. Type 0 did well in spite of it having one of the most ludicrously ridiculous development cycles, cancellations, delays coming out, and yet it still did well. So there we go, guys. A breakdown of all things Square Enixy, and the long story short is crap loads of money, lots of incentive to invest it into games. Final Fantasy is dope, and I can't see any reason why they wouldn't consider, at the very least consider, running an FF16 release alongside a 7 Remake release. Generally, when your numbers get to this, you can start swinging your dinkus around a bit more. Gets a swinging, Square, swing it. And if you like, you can swing it in my face tonight, 6:30 p.m. BST time, when you announce it at Gamescom. Yes, baby, please. Of course, unless of course you're watching this in the future, and Gamescom has already happened, in which case, only you will know if it's actually happened right now. Ah, shit. Did it happen? Can anyone confirm? Anyone from the future can confirm. Did Final Fantasy 16 happen? Oh, here we bloody go, guys. Full hype, full hope, full expectation, lock and load it tonight, pitchforks at the ready. It's going down. Come on!